Well, you guys are looking awfully bubbly today. Happy Chewing Gum Day. And let's get started with Chapter 2, Definitions and Co-Function. This is a big move from last chapter because we're going from graphing in standard form to now just drawing a triangle and using SOHCAHTOA to solve problems. So what we're first going to do is draw a standard triangle, and a couple things to point out of the standard triangle is C usually goes at the right angle, and capital letters identify angles, lowercase letters refer to sides, and the relationship is across the angle, so the side is always opposite the angle. They're both the same letter. One thing we're going to remember is SOHCAHTOA in this chapter. And today what we're going to look at is the relationship of the 6 trig functions with just a regular triangle, and then compare some of the values of those trig functions. So we're going to start with the sine of A, and we're going to make a real long list here. Sine of A and the cosine of A and the tangent of A. And then it's going to be the cosine of B, sine of B, and the tangent of B. And as I look at that triangle over to the right, I'm going to see the sine of A is going to be opposite over hypotenuse by SOHCAHTOA, so that's going to be A over C. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, that's going to be B over C. And the tangent is opposite over adjacent, A over B. Similarly, angle B, we're going to do the same thing. Cosine of B, A over C. Sine of B, again opposite over adjacent, B over C. And tangent of B, opposite over adjacent, B over A. So the sine of B was opposite over hypotenuse. As we look at those, you're going to see that the sine of A is equal to A over C, and the cosine of B is equal to A over C. They equal the same exact thing. That's not out of coincidence. That's going to be something that we're going to develop in class. With those, we're also going to get into secant, cosecant, and tangent. So we're going to do that same thing down here. Let's see, the secant of A is going to be your y over your adjacent, your hypotenuse over your adjacent, which is the reciprocal of cosine, right? Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, so the secant is going to be hypotenuse over adjacent. So that's going to be C over B. Cosecant of A is going to be C over A. Cotangent of A is going to be B over A. Going back to the secant of B, you could think about it in terms of reciprocal of the cosine of B. So you know that's going to be just C over A. similarly. And what I'm going to do is look back now and try to make a comparison between all of that information in order to summarize it at the end. And so what I'm going to look at is similarities between which ones equal the same thing. For example, I'm going to see that the cosine of A is equal to A over C and the cosine of B is equal to A over C. Those match. The cosine of A matches with the sine of B. The tangent of A and the tangent of B do not match. But I can see that the tangent of A does equal the cotangent of B. I also know the cosecant of A is equal to the secant of B. Which ones are paired up with each other? 1, sines and cosines. 2, tangents and cotangents. 3, secants and cosecants. Again, let's think about those. Sines and cosines, tangents and cotangents, secants and cosecants. Those are called cofunctions. And so we're going to remember those, and we're going to have a list here stating which cofunctions are. Sine theta, cosine theta, tangent theta, cotangent theta, and secant theta, cosecant theta. All right, so these are cofunctions because they have the word co in front of them, and they can be easily paired up. But going back to this other slide now, we're going to see that it's the tangent of A is equal to the cotangent of B. It's not the same angle that has that equivalent. It's a different angle. So what's the relationship of angle A and angle B? Angle A and angle B have to add up to 90 degrees. So I could say that angle B is the same thing as 90 minus A. If A is 30, this is going to be 60. You just subtracted it from 90 degrees because they have to add up, the angles have to add up to 180, which means these two, A and B, have to add up to 90 if you take 90 away from 180. All right, so that's going to help me identify what I want to write with this sweeping statement. And the sweeping statement from here, which is the main idea on this lesson, is going to be the trig function of an angle equals the trig function of an angle equals the cofunction of the complement, add up to 90, the complement of the angle. Trig function of an angle equals the cofunction of the complement of the angle. The sine of A is equal to the cosine of 90 minus A. So that means I could write down just that. Sine of A equals cosine of 90 minus A. Or what we said is B. 90 minus A and B are the same thing. The secant of A is equal to the cosecant of 90 minus A. The tangent of A is equal to the cotangent of the complement of A. This is what you should commit to memory, is the tangent, the trig function of an angle equals the cofunction of the complement of the angle. So if I go through here and I say, okay, what does the sine of 20 degrees equal? You should know the sine of 20 is equal to the cosine of 70. If I ask what the secant of 30 degrees equals, the secant of 30 is equal to the cosecant of 60 degrees. Okay, that should conclude this lesson. You should find the homework pretty easy. Tomorrow what we're going to do is develop the table for angles between 0 and 90 for the sine, cosine, and tangent. That's going to be a big day. Like our Santa Claus was a big day, tomorrow's going to be a big day. So it's not the same delivery, but the importance is still there.